Have you ever checked the weather forecast 10 times before a crucial meeting, hoping that the 10th look at your phone screen might magically chase the clouds away? Or maybe you spend hours replaying an old conversation in your head, desperately trying to come up with that perfect comeback you'll never actually get to say. If so, you are definitely not alone. We've all fallen into the trap of one of our mind's most insidious deceptions, the illusion of control. Today, we're going to talk about why that desperate attempt to control the weather, other people, and your own past is not just futile. It actively sabotages your happiness, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to break those mental chains and finally feel an incredible sense of relief. Now, do you consider yourself a controlling person? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. I'm curious to see the results. To understand why we cling so desperately to the steering wheel, even when we know it's disconnected, we need to look back at our evolutionary past. For our distant ancestors, control literally meant survival. Control over fire, control over territory, control over food supplies. These were direct markers of safety and success. This instinct is deeply ingrained in our brains. The problem is that the modern world has become immeasurably more complex. Our ancient brain is still trying to apply Stone Age strategies to 21st century realities. It sees no difference between controlling a spear and controlling your boss's opinion or your partner's mood. This fierce need for control is an evolutionary glitch that in the 21st century has turned from a useful tool into a source of perpetual anxiety. We desperately try to impose order on chaos, but chaos is the natural state of the universe. Our real mission isn't to defeat it, it's to learn how to swim in it. Let's start with the most crucial thing, understanding the illusion of control. This is a cognitive bias that makes us believe we can influence events that are actually outside of our control. Psychologists Ellen Langer and Judith Rodin conducted a classic experiment in a nursing home. They gave one group of elderly residents a houseplant and told them they were entirely responsible for it. Watering, care, everything was up to them. The second group also received a plant, but they were told the staff would take care of it. After some time, the first group, having been given a tiny island of control, became noticeably happier, more active, and even healthier. This proves how crucial control is for us. But here lies the trap. We transfer this satisfying feeling to areas where it simply doesn't apply. Imagine a sports fan in their lucky jersey who is certain that their clothing affects the outcome of the game. They feel a sense of involvement, a feeling of control. But this is just an illusion. At best, it's harmless. At worst, it forces us to waste energy on meaningless rituals instead of taking real action. The key to breaking free from this illusion lies in understanding the difference between two concepts, control and influence. They are not the same thing, and grasping this distinction can fundamentally change your life. Control is having 100% power over the outcome. You can control what you eat for breakfast or which book you choose to read next. Influence, on the other hand, is the ability to affect the probability of an outcome, but without any guarantee. You cannot control traffic jams. That's a simple fact. But you can influence your arrival time by leaving 30 minutes earlier. You can't control the hiring decision of an employer during an interview, but you can influence that decision by preparing thoroughly, looking sharp, and answering questions thoughtfully and intelligently. The person obsessed with control will sit in traffic, getting angry and cursing the world. The person who understands the distinction will focus on what is within their power, maybe turning on a useful podcast or calling a loved one. Your goal must be to shift your focus from those futile attempts at total control to expanding your zone of influence. This is the critical shift, moving from the position of a victim of circumstances to the position of an active agent. Let's now dive into the three great uncontrollable forces in every person's life. The first, and most obvious, is the past. It has already happened. It is absolutely cemented in time. Every mental attempt to go back and rerun that situation is nothing but voluntary self-torture. Imagine carrying a massive sack of rocks on your back. Each rock represents an error, a resentment, or a regret. You lug it around daily. It chafes your shoulders, slows your pace, and prevents you from looking forward. The desire to control the past is that very sack. You constantly replay that terrible date, that failed interview, or that stupid argument in your head, over and over. Why? You're trying to find a way to fix what is unfixable. This is mental chewing gum. It has no flavour and absolutely zero nutritional value. It just exhausts your jaw muscles, or in this case, your brain. Accepting the past doesn't mean you endorse it or approve of it. It simply means acknowledging the fact that it is over and you can no longer influence it. The only thing you can control are the lessons you choose to extract from it. So how do we finally stop dragging that heavy sack of rocks from the past? There are concrete techniques that can help you process it, accept it, and ultimately let it go. One of the most powerful methods is the practice of gratitude for the lessons you've gained. Instead of asking, "How could I have messed up so badly?" try reframing the question, "What did this situation teach me? What kind of person did it help me become?" Maybe that painful breakup taught you to better understand your boundaries, or getting laid off actually pushed you toward finding your true calling. Get a journal and write down at least 3 vital lessons you extracted from the most painful situation you can recall. Another effective technique is a ritual of closure, or a ritualistic goodbye. Write a letter to the person who wronged you, or to your younger self. Pour out everything you've kept bottled up, the hurt, the anger, the frustration, then physically burn the letter, visualizing those heavy feelings dissipating with the smoke. This isn't magic. It's basic psychology. You are signaling to your brain that the chapter is finally closed. Remember this, the past is not a life sentence. It is merely a library, a place you can visit for wisdom, but never a place to live. The second great, uncontrollable force of nature is other people. Their thoughts, their feelings, their decisions, their actions. This is arguably the most common and painful control trap we fall into. We want our loved ones to be happy in the way we define happiness. We want our children to choose the right path. We want our partner to think and feel exactly the way we do. Every such attempt is an invasion of another person's sovereign territory. Imagine trying to play a game of chess for two, moving both your pieces and theirs. Not only do you strip the other person of their free will, but you doom yourself to massive disappointment when they suddenly make a move you hadn't planned. You cannot force someone to love you. You cannot force someone to change. You cannot force someone to agree with your point of view. Any attempt to do so is a form of coercion, a subtle violence that inevitably leads to resistance and the destruction of the relationship. The only person whose thoughts and actions you truly have control over is yourself. Let's dig a little deeper. Why this desperate need to control everyone else? At the heart of this desire, you will almost always find fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, or the paralyzing fear that if we aren't in charge of the situation, everything will completely fall apart. Take, for example, the mother who micromanages her grown son. She's actually afraid of becoming irrelevant or dispensable. Or the husband who is jealous and controls his wife's every move. He fears losing her and fundamentally doesn't believe in his own self-worth. We attempt to control others purely to gain external validation, confirmation of our own importance, love, and security. It's an attempt to meet our deep internal needs at someone else's expense. The next time you catch yourself trying to control another person, stop. Ask yourself 2 essential questions. What fear am I trying to avoid right now? And what need am I trying to fulfill? By recognizing the true underlying cause, you can find healthier ways to manage your fears without crossing other people's boundaries. For instance, instead of demanding an itinerary or an accounting of your partner's time, you could honestly say, "I'm feeling insecure right now, and I really need your support." So what is the true cost of trying to control other people? It's enormous, and make no mistake, you are the first one to pay. First, you face constant frustration and disappointment. People are not robots. They simply won't follow your script. Every time their behaviour deviates from your carefully laid plans, you are hit with anger, resentment, and a profound sense of powerlessness. It's like trying to train a cat to walk on its hind legs. You'll waste years of effort and nerves, only to end up with scratches and an utterly worn-out pet. Second, this behaviour destroys your relationships. Nobody wants to feel like a puppet on a string. Constant controlling behaviour, unsolicited advice, and criticism provoke only one reaction in others: the urge to pull away, detach, and aggressively defend their personal boundaries. You may genuinely think you are operating from a place of good intentions, but to the person on the receiving end, it translates directly as distrust and profound disrespect. Third, it drains your personal energy completely. Instead of channeling your focus toward your own growth, success, and happiness, you fritter away that vital energy on a futile battle against another person's free will. This is arguably the most demanding, draining, and pointless activity you could ever engage in. So what should we do instead of trying to control others? The answer is both simple and profoundly complex. We need to establish healthy personal boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls designed to isolate you. They are guidelines, clear rules that define how others can and cannot interact with you. Instead of trying to force a change in someone else's behaviour, you shift your focus entirely onto your reaction to that behaviour. Let's take an example. Your friend is constantly late. The controlling approach would be calling her every 5 minutes, nagging and giving her a lecture. Spoiler alert, that simply doesn't work. Setting a boundary means saying something like this: I truly value our friendship, but it's exhausting for me to wait half an hour every time. So here's the deal. I will wait for 15 minutes and then I need to get on with my schedule. You are not controlling her tardiness. You are controlling your time. You are controlling your emotional peace. You give the other person a clear choice. Either they respect your boundaries or they face the consequences of those actions. This shift places the responsibility for their actions squarely on their shoulders and the responsibility for your personal well-being squarely on yours. This is an honest, mature approach that ultimately preserves both the relationship and your essential peace of mind. And that brings us to the third great force, the element completely outside our control. That is the future and the entire vast external world. This encompasses everything: the weather, the nation's economic situation, political events, illnesses, and sheer randomness. Anxiety about the future is simply our brain attempting to manage things that haven't even happened yet. We construct dozens of negative scenarios in our heads, desperately trying to prepare for every outcome. What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if a major crisis hits? This mental chatter has absolutely nothing to do with real planning. Planning is when you put money aside for a rainy day. Anxiety, however, is when you visualize that rainy day in painstaking detail every single day. It's like constantly watching a horror movie where you are the main character. The desire to control the future is essentially a refusal to live in the present moment. You are so preoccupied with preventing imaginary disasters that you miss the actual life that is unfolding right here, right now. The only way to genuinely influence your future is to live your present life with the highest possible quality and intention. This is where we turn to a philosophy that is over 2,000 years old, Stoicism. Its central pillar is the core idea known as the dichotomy of control. Stoic thinkers, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, categorized everything in the world into two essential groups. The first is what is within our control. The second is what is not within our control. In that first category, they placed a very short list: our thoughts, our judgments, our intentions, and our reactions to events. That's all. The second category included everything else: our physical body, our health, our reputation, our possessions, the actions of other people, the weather, the past, and the future. The Stoics believe the secret to inner peace lies in focusing 100% of your energy on that first category and learning to accept the second category exactly as it is. Take the example of an archer. What is within his power? Choosing a quality bow, selecting good arrows, training daily, aiming accurately, and factoring in the wind speed. But the moment the arrow leaves the bowstring, it is no longer within his control. A sudden gust of wind or the movement of the target can change the outcome completely. The wise archer does everything within his ability and then calmly accepts the results. So how exactly do we apply this ancient wisdom in our modern lives? It's far simpler than you might think. Start with a simple exercise. Every time you feel anxiety, anger, or frustration bubbling up, ask yourself this key question. Is the thing that is bothering me within my sphere of control, or is it outside of it? If the answer is no, for example, you're enraged by the behavior of another driver on the road, take a deep breath and tell yourself, this is beyond my control. I can only control my own response. I choose calm. If the answer is yes, say you're worried about an upcoming exam, shift your focus immediately to concrete action. Remember, I cannot control the specific questions on the test, but I absolutely can control the time I spend preparing for it. This simple question acts as a vital filter, sifting out pointless worry and channeling your energy into constructive endeavours. Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions. It is a conscious choice to not let external events dictate your internal state. It is about building an unbreakable inner fortress, a sanctuary that no storm of life can ever tear down. Let's talk about the direct and often dangerous link between the desire for control and anxiety. In essence, an anxiety disorder is nothing more than an overgrown, completely out of control urge to manage every aspect of life. A person suffering from anxiety constantly scans the world for potential threats and attempts to prevent them, often just in their mind. Their brain is permanently set to the what if mode. What if the plane crashes? What if I say something stupid? What if they diagnose me with a terrible disease? Every single what if scenario is an attempt to control the future, to play through all possible outcomes and find the one that feels the safest. But because the future is inherently unpredictable and the number of negative scenarios is infinite, this process quickly turns into a vicious cycle of suffering. The brain simply burns out from the constant, overwhelming tension. The irony is, the harder you try to control your anxiety, the more powerful it becomes. By telling yourself, just don't worry, you are only intensifying the internal strain. The way out of this cycle is not through stronger control, but through letting go of it entirely. It lies in the acceptance. Yes, bad things might happen. I cannot control that, but I can handle it, and I will cope if and when it occurs. If control is the fuel that feeds anxiety, what's the antidote? One of the most effective tools we have is the practice of awareness or mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to focus your attention on the present moment without judgment, while the anxious mind constantly wanders, either trying to control the future or fix the past. Mindfulness brings you back home, right here, right now. The simplest exercise for this is focusing on your breath. Get comfortable, close your eyes, and simply observe how the air enters and leaves your nostrils. Don't try to control the breath. Don't make it deeper or slower. Just watch it. Your mind will wander. That is perfectly normal. Every time you notice you've drifted into thought, gently and without judgment, bring your attention back to the breathing. This simple practice trains your attention muscle. It teaches you to reside in the present moment, the only place where anxiety about the future can't exist because it hasn't arrived yet, and where regret over the past fades because it's already gone. This is a direct route to calm through the surrender of control. Let's visualize your mental and emotional energy as your phone battery. When you wake up, it's fully charged at 100%. Now think about what drains that charge throughout the day, worrying about what your colleagues think of you, getting angry at the driver who cut you off, the frustration over rain ruining your plans, stressing over the health of loved ones, trying to constantly read your boss's mood. Each of these mental processes is essentially an app running in the background, constantly draining your power. By midday, your battery is down to 30%, and suddenly you have no energy left for what truly matters: your work, your creative pursuits, connecting with your family, or simply taking care of yourself. Attempting to control the uncontrollable is the least effective way to spend your vital energy. It's like trying to boil the ocean with a single candle. When you consciously choose to let go of these pointless tasks, you free up a huge amount of resources. Your battery stops draining for no reason, and you gain the power you need to live a full and vibrant life. So you might ask, fine, I'll stop trying to control everything, but what's in it for me? What are the real benefits of letting go? The benefits are far greater than you can imagine. The first, and most important, is inner peace. When you accept that you simply cannot manage every variable, an enormous amount of stress and tension immediately leaves your life. You finally stop tilting at windmills. Second, better relationships. Once you stop trying to change and micromanage the people around you, you begin to accept them exactly as they are. This creates a space for trust, respect, and genuine intimacy. Third is flexibility and adaptability. Life constantly throws curveballs our way. The person obsessed with control breaks down at the first deviation from the plan. However, the person who practices acceptance is like bamboo. They bend with the wind, but they never break. Fourth, the sudden emergence of new opportunities. When you stop rigidly clinging to your one correct scenario, you start noticing countless other paths and options that you simply couldn't see before. If surrendering control feels so liberating, why are we so terrified of doing it? Our brain perceives the relinquishing of control as a fundamental loss of safety. We feel that if we just drop the reins, our entire wagon will immediately plunge into the abyss. We fear chaos. We dread uncertainty. We believe that our total control is the only thing preventing the world from dissolving into chaos. This is, of course, an illusion born of our ego. The world functioned perfectly well long before we arrived, and it will continue to do so long after we are gone. Another pervasive fear is the fear of failure or error. We assume that if we meticulously control every variable, we can somehow bypass mistakes. But this is simply impossible. Errors are an essential, non-negotiable part of any developmental process. By trying to avoid them through hyper-control, we only succeed in paralyzing ourselves and robbing ourselves of the opportunity to learn and grow. And finally, we fear confronting our own fundamental powerlessness. To admit that we are not omnipotent can be incredibly jarring to our self-esteem. Yet hidden within this recognition is not weakness, but tremendous strength, the profound strength of accepting reality exactly as it is. So instead of wasting our energy trying to manage what's outside our control, let's focus squarely on what we can influence. This list might be short, but it holds incredible power. First are your reactions. An event itself is neutral. Rain starts falling. That's just a fact. Your reaction, however, is entirely up to you. Do you get upset and cancel your walk, or do you grab a good book and enjoy reading by the window? That is your choice. Second is your effort. You can't guarantee winning the competition, but you absolutely control the quantity and quality of your training. Third are your values and principles. In any situation, even the most challenging ones, you control your moral compass. You choose whether to act honestly or not, whether to show compassion or indifference. Fourth is where you direct your attention. You can choose to obsess over negativity, problems, and shortcomings, or you can focus on opportunities, gratitude, and the beauty of the world. Your attention is your most precious resource. Wherever you aim it, that is the direction your life will flow. When you stop trying to manage the external world, you gain genuine power, the power over your inner world. And this is the only power that truly matters. There is a highly illustrative and useful exercise known as the circles of control. It helps you visualize and categorize the different areas of your life. Take a sheet of paper and draw a small circle right in the center. This is your circle of control. Inside this circle, write down everything that is 100% within your power. Your words, your actions, your choices, your attitude, and how you spend your free time. Around this central circle, draw a second, larger one. This is the circle of influence. Here, list things you can affect or influence but cannot completely control. Your relationships with friends, your work performance, and your physical health. You can eat right, but you can't guarantee you'll never get sick. Finally, the remaining space on the sheet represents the circle of concern. This outer space includes everything outside of your control: the global economy, the weather, the past, and other people's opinions of you. Now take a look at this diagram. An overly controlling person often wastes 90% of their time and energy focusing on the outermost circle. A truly happy and effective person, however, focuses primarily on the inner circle and selectively on the middle one. Hang this sheet somewhere visible and check back with it often. There is a surprising paradox hidden in the pursuit of control. The harder you try to grasp something, the faster it seems to slip away. Imagine holding a small bird in your hand. If you clench your fist too tightly, afraid it might fly away, you will crush it. To actually keep it, you must keep your palm open, creating a safe and comfortable space for it. The same principle applies to relationships. The more fiercely you try to control your partner, the more intensely they will push back and seek their own freedom. Consider another image. Try holding water by tightly squeezing your fist. It simply flows out between your fingers. But if you cup your hands gently and relax, you can hold significantly more. Life is a continuous flow. When you attempt to control this flow, you are building dams that will inevitably break sooner or later. True wisdom lies not in trying to command the river, but in learning how to build a boat and skillfully navigate it, harnessing the power of the current. By letting go of control, you paradoxically gain far greater influence over your own life. Let's wrap up the theory and move on to the practical work. What is the very first, smallest step you can take today to start loosening your grip on control? Pick just one thing. For instance, if you usually create a detailed schedule for the day and get stressed by any deviation, try leaving 1 hour of empty time in your schedule today. And during that hour, allow yourself to do whatever you feel like in the moment, completely unplanned. Or, if you constantly check the news, trying to control the flow of information, challenge yourself not to open any news sites until the evening. If you catch yourself mentally criticizing someone else's choices, just notice the thought and consciously release it, reminding yourself that's their life and their choice. You don't need to try and let go of everything right away. Start small. Every time you consciously choose to relinquish control in one small situation, you are actively training your acceptance muscle. And over time, this muscle will grow so strong that you will be able to handle even the biggest uncertainties life throws your way with ease. So, let's quickly recap. Today, we focused on the great illusion of control, that massive mental trap that makes us waste priceless energy trying to manage things completely outside our influence. We broke down the 3 primary spheres we cannot control: our past, which is already done, other people who possess free will, and the vast external world complete with its unpredictable weather, global economy, and uncertain future. We saw that by clinging tightly to the need for control, we only generate anxiety, frustration, and inevitably damage our relationships. But the single most important takeaway I want you to walk away with is this: understanding where your true power actually lies. It is not in the external world, it is within you. It's in your choices, in your reactions, and in your attitude towards life. When you stop fighting the universe, you finally find peace with yourself. That is the definition of true freedom. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you found this information helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes on psychology and self-improvement. Now, I have a question for you. What is the one thing you most often try to control, even though deep down you know it's completely pointless? Let me know your answer in the comments below. Let's discuss this together.